Hello there, Quicksilver Slash, and today I have a video courtesy of Slippy Moo driving the Tier 9 British cruiser, the Neptune. And I really enjoyed this ship when I got to it, and you'll notice they're playing alongside a division mate, herself, in a Tier 10. And that Neptune is really one of those cruisers that can handle its own a tier or two higher. Well, there's only one higher, but as a general statement. And a big part of that is the smoke, what it provides for you, and the kind of flexibility that provides for you can be very helpful, especially on a map like this that has a lot of islands that you can kind of park behind, put your smoke up, edge out from, but back into the island if you need the cover from incoming fire or radar or hydro. Now if this map were a standard battle, this ship would have a much harder time, but would still do decently. The forced-in nature of domination battles really does lend itself well to the entire British line, and Slippy Moo is going to do a good job showing that over the course of this battle. So you can see his team has split into roughly two equal groups. The group at A a little less overwhelming, but needless to say they do have a Gearing over there, and so far the Gearing's only come up against a Fletcher. Pretty obvious another destroyer's in C, so you know the Gearing could have a lot of luck here at A. And in these British cruisers I always do like to know where those destroyers are, because the last thing you want is torpedoes coming through your smoke that you're not expecting. Now the hydroacoustic gives you warning, but you need to know a relative bearing that they could be coming from, so you can more or less have your bow in the right direction ahead of time. If you're sitting side on and relying on that hydroacoustic search, odds are you're eating a torpedo. If you're sitting bow in and use it, you'll probably be able to dodge them all with just a little bit of maneuvering. So that's one of those things I'm always paying attention to when driving these ships. The next is, once again, like any ship, you should be paying attention to your line of sight. So right now, with Slippy Moo, I'm concerned about this area up here, but you can see he's moved in behind this island, so that's good. So the next line of sight is through here and over here. And you can see he is lining up his torpedoes, ready to just throw them single fire at this Tirpitz, pops the smoke, and just goes to town, flooding a very narrow band of water with a lot of torpedoes. That's one of the things I do enjoy about these British cruisers, is that single fire. It's a rather unique ability, and you can see just how dense this one section of water right here is with Peds. And, you know, if a ship isn't expecting that, it is absolutely gonna wreck them. And I kind of feel bad for this Tirpitz, because the other set of torpedoes from the Loyang who just died kind of forced him to turn a certain direction, and as a result, Slippy Moo now has 46,000 damage and a first kill of the match, for himself at least. So now he's got a tough situation to debate. There are a lot of ships all spotted right north of that island, and you don't really know where they're going. For the time being, he has shots at the Hindenburg, but one of the things you don't want to waste in this British cruisers is your smoke. If you're sitting in your smoke, you want to make sure you have shots on things. And it's something I notice a lot of players in cruisers that have smoke, so the Kutuzov, this British line, heck, even the Flint. They'll pop their smoke too far back to be effective. Now, in Slippy Moo's case, I agree with the use of it. He had a Tirpitz coming around a corner, he wanted to remain hidden, it makes sense. But with that Tirpitz gone, there's not a lot to shoot at now, and you kind of have to pick and choose your alleys of how you're going to approach things. There's an Iowa to the north, but he's currently safe from this island to his north. And, you know, he's kind of got to decide, okay, where am I going to face targets from? And unfortunately, that's when North Carolina comes around here. Now Now his only option to really find cover from this North Carolina is to charge and close that island in the center of B. But that is going to end up exposing him potentially to ships on his right flank. Fortunately, the Montana and Iowa are both behind an island, but there is this Moskva who just happens to be sitting perfectly side on and not looking at him, so that's definitely going to be some free damage. A bit of a shame he didn't get a Citadel in that first volley. Second volley, 4,000 damage, not bad. And I think a bit of a bug here, pretty confident he has the North Carolina targeted and is trying to do to the North Carolina what he did moments earlier to the Tirpitz. Unfortunately, the North Carolina has learned his lesson, or learned a lesson from that Tirpitz, and isn't going charging out. So you'll see Slippy Moo a whole bunch here. Keep targeting the North Carolina. Go back to guns, look at something else. Target the North Carolina with the Torps. And what you're watching for is two things. Well, really one. You want to watch what this gray lead indicator does. As it starts to jump forward, it means one of two things. The ship is turning away or it's accelerating. Now, Slippy Moo, based on overleading that gray marker, believes that the North Carolina was accelerating, puts the torpedoes out, hoping he's going to drive into them. Unfortunately, I believe it was a bit more of the fact he was turning. You can see the ship on the mini-map already hugging up around the coast, which means he's not going to carry forward into that same spot the lead indicator might have suggested. And unfortunately, for Slippy Moo at least, the North Carolina dodges every one of those PEDs. Does take a parting shot at him. They're all going to go into the island, and now he's kind of got to choose where to go. And once again, he's going to close land. Land is your friend. It's going to protect you. This is true in any class of ship. Using land to set your line sights is really how you control a battle. Puts in a Citadel to that Moskva, getting some good damage on a very dangerous cruiser. Unfortunately, he was the one spotting the Moskva, and the second he slips behind an edge of land, the Moskva disappears as well. And I do like one of the things Slippy is doing here. He's letting the fire burn. He's not wasting in damage control. He knows there's a threat something else could happen to him. You can see that repair party going to town, easily topping his health up. So there's no real need to waste a damage control when you've got a repair party. And battleships, and any ship really with a repair, kind of needs to take that lesson to heart. Fire damage is entirely repairable. One fire is not worth giving up, a damage control when you might have torpedoes coming at you, or you could have 5 fires lit on you in the next volley. So pick and choose very carefully when you use those damage controls, and when given the opportunity, and if you've got a repair party, just let the tick go, He's still got plenty of health. All that leftover fire damage is going to be repairable with his next repair party. So let it be. He drives out to find that Moskva. First volley is 4,800 damage. The second one should finish him, and it does. And he throws a couple torpedoes at the Montana as he finishes off that turn. And funny enough, something is going to eat those torpedoes. And I don't believe it's the Moskva or the Montana. I think it's one of the other ships. And bit of a misplay there. I don't know, because I didn't look at his speed when he started his smoke, but he definitely drove out of it. I think he was expecting the second puff, but depending on the speeds you're going, sometimes these British cruisers only get the one circle of smoke. There's the torpedo, starts a flooding, and you know what? I think it was the Montana that it did hit there. So things are looking decent for Slippy's team. They've got the one cap, but they're well ahead on points, 400 points ahead, and they've got a 2-kill lead. So at this point, with the Cyclone active, you really want to stick close as a team. And a kind of tutorial on Cyclones is something I've been looking to do because I see so many teams mess it up. The thing you have to be very careful about in a Cyclone is your proximity to one another. You never want to be the only ship spotted by a fleet of enemies. You want the reverse. You want to run one enemy ship into the range where a bunch of yours see it. So you see Slippy's team is all very tightly grouped, and as a result they're able to focus targets down. Now it seems that Iowa kind of knew it was coming there, dodged the first set of torpedoes, but luckily for Slippy, he seems kind of just oblivious to the fact that, hey, there could be another entire set coming at him. And every single one of those 8 torpedoes lands true, hitting that Iowa. Only took 3 to finish him off. So now Slippy's up to 171,000 damage and 3 kills. Things are looking good for his team. 1 battleship, couple cruisers left. This should be easy. But I do always try to caution my teams when I'm on them in this situation not to get overbold. That Montana has a lot of health left and some very deadly guns to the ships the likes of that Rune that just died, or the Iowa and Missouri. You know, both this Iowa and Missouri, more so the Missouri, are within single volley potential of that Montana, especially in close. And for some reason there, the Montana shoots the Iowa instead. If I were that Montana, I would have hit the Missouri. You know, you always want to remove a target from the game that's shooting at you, rather than shooting at the full health target. So right here, we're finally going to get our first look at that Montana. And you can see, still on about 50% health, and for a few seconds here, it's got a very good side-on angle of that Missouri. You can see Slippy trying to contemplate torpedoes, but really guns are all you need here. The rate of fire on these things and just the raw damage you can do, even to battleships, is very impressive. And right there he picks up the kill, and next on the list is the Zhao. And the first volley, 1500, not great. But the Zhao's kind of in a tricky spot. He's got torpedoes he probably wants to put in the water at these battleships, but he doesn't really want to show his side to anyone, and he's gonna have to pick one person or another, and it looks like the Missouri is gonna finish him off. But the Zhao's secondaries finish the Missouri off. So, bit of an exchange there, but when you're ahead on kills, you can sort of afford to give up a ship to take a ship down. So at this point, I would like to see someone on Slippy's team go for Charlie. Preferably the cruiser. You know, that Hindenburg can get into Charlie quicker and really just secure them the points victory. Because you can't rely on a team to finish off a couple ships. These cruisers have done very well on their own on that corner of the cap, and no one really knows what kind of health they're on. Fortunately, it looks like one of Slippy's battleships is doing just that, going to Charlie to make sure they win regardless of what the outcome of the gunfight is. And, you know, it's situations like this that I really want to do a Cyclone kind of tutorial. Slippy ships are all kind of breaking up. You know, the one going to Charlie, that's pretty safe. You can pretty much be guaranteed that they're not over there, but the two that are going north kind of left Slippy alone. Now fortunately for Slippy, he's in a really strong ship. First volley, 4,000 damage. All he has to do is stay nose in. He's not going to take any excessive damage if he can manage to do that. Now, I would already have my Hydra active. I wouldn't have waited that long. Pretty much the second the Rune was spotted, I would have been all over my Hydra, because both these cruisers have some very deadly torpedoes. And, well, At this point, I'd say it's pretty much over. They've run into one another, the torpedoes are looking true, he finishes the rune off, and at this point, you could just go for the bloody ram. And it looks like that is what Slippy has chosen to do, though his guns could finish him off before he gets there.
We destroyed an enemy crew.
And a little sad that Slippy Mood got finished off by that Hindenburg, but overall a great game. 1.6 million credits, 7,600 XP, Kraken Unleashed, high caliber, 218,000 credits and 6 kills. And these British cruisers are just absolute beasts. I wouldn't expect much less, especially from Slippy Mood, who's given some great replays over the time. And when you just look at those shell hits and torpedoes, he kind of did it all. You know, sometimes you'll get the Neptune that literally sits, or any British cruiser, just sits at the back of the map and just spams shells. Slippy Mood didn't do that. And as a result, 2,564 base experience, top of the team. Thank you very much, Slippy Mood, for sharing this. Anyone else who would like to, quicksilverslash@gmail.com, and I will happily commentate it and put it up on this channel. And if you enjoyed this, consider giving a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. Both really help me out, keep me motivated. I was hoping to get to 1,000 before the end of the month. Clearly not happening. Still hoping for about 750, and I'd be really, really pleased with that. Anyways, I'm Quicksilver Slash, and I'll have another one for you guys later.